show you how to create a report to get profitability either by client or project. Just something that you can set up yourself. So I'm going to log in as Brian. Reporting. This reporting is under project for a project type. So you want to start off in the canned reports, and you're going to use the project earnings report to create a project report for your profit. Go to show report options. So in report options, you've got different things that you can add into the report, different ways that you can have things sorted. The way the can setup is, it does project earnings and sorts it by project number. We'll leave that like this for now. What we're going to set up is a project earnings report for a single client, but this can be modified to do just single projects or multiple clients. If you were going to do multiple clients in this group and sorting, you can go to manage groups, go to the billing client, add the billing client in, drag it up here. So that's going to first sort by the billing client, and then underneath the billing client, it's going to sort by project number. And we're going to do this just for project number because we're just going to do this for one client at a time. So in the columns, there's a bunch of things that come in off the from the beginning. We're going to get rid of some of this stuff. So we're going to manage columns. Charge type you don't care about. Project manager you can leave in or leave out for this this sample report. I'm going to assume that you don't care who the project manager is, so you can take that out. Compensation and contract compensation. Those numbers should end up being the same, so there's no reason to have both of them in there if you want it in at all. The contract compensation, if you've set up your project correctly and gone through contract management and added in the contract and the fee in that location, then that should show up here. I can show you where that is after we complete this report. So for right now, I'm going to leave that in, leave it contract compensation. So typically you're going to want to look at job to date performance. Job to date hours, you probably don't need to see. Job to date build, you don't necessarily need to see. You could leave it on there. We'll leave that on there for now to see what shows up. Then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to pick some other job to date things. So type in JTD, amount cost, and then overhead amount cost. So your profit is going to be the amount, the revenue, minus the amount of cost, minus the overhead cost. That's what your profit is going to be. Again, your build and your revenue should be the same, so there's really no reason to have both of those things in, so I would just take build out. So what you're going to have here is you're going to have the contract compensation. So if it's a $300,000 job and you've put that in properly in the contract management, you will show $300,000. Job to date revenue, if you've billed $200,000 on that, that should show $200,000. The amount cost, actually, let's change the amount cost to labor amount cost. The amount cost would have been the total of the labor amount cost, overhead amount cost, and if there's any other expenses or anything that's a cost, we typically on our projects don't have that. It's only going to be labor and overhead. So those two items should add up to plus the profit should add up to the revenue. That's really all I think you typically would want to see if you're looking for profitability. You could add in percentage if you want to see profit percentage, job to date profit percentage. If you're concerned about looking at what the percentages are, that's not a bad number either. But the job to date profit's going to tell you whether you're making money or not making money. Okay, so I like to hit show final totals so that it totals up everything for the report on the bottom. You don't have to put that. I like to have it. Under options, include unposted labor. So any labor that has been submitted, so timesheets that have been submitted that have not been posted will show up then on the report. So that's a good thing to have. It's only as good as somebody turning in their timesheet. You should include overhead and estimate overhead. Both of those things should be checked off. Activity basis. Right now, the way this is set up, it's only going to find things that have current activity in the current period, and the activity is defined as labor or expense transactions. So if there's a project that in the current period, we're in the period of January 2022 in this example, if no time has been charged in that period, nothing's going to show up for that particular job. Or if no expense transactions have been entered, then nothing would show up for that job. You typically are going to want job to date, and it can either be labor and expense transactions, or it can be labor, expense, receipts, and invoices. I would say go ahead and do that so that you kind of capture everything with respect to the projects that you're looking for. Down here, we'll show a little bit more about this after we run through this and save this. This allows you to roll up the project number. I'll show you what that means after we run the report. So right now, we've got the report pretty much set up how we would want it. So then the next thing to do is figure out who or what you're going to get this report for. Currently, this will go for all the records that fit this criteria, that they've job to date, they've got some labor and expense transactions. So it's going to run for everything, active or inactive. So we're going to go up to the search, and the search is the most important part of generating any reports in Vantage Point everywhere that you go. We're not just the project earnings, but any report that you're trying to generate. The search is really what you're trying to print out, what you're trying to look for. So it typically defaults to project status is active when you go up into this. You don't necessarily care that it's going to be active for this report. It could be a project that you worked on at the beginning of the year, finished it, we've been paid, so the project has been made dormant. So initially I would get rid of that. So you just hit the X and get rid of that. So what I want to do here is I want to set up a search for one client. So I'm going to go and type in billing client. Typically our client is our billing client that we are concerned with. It could also be the, as opposed to the billing client, it can be the primary client. They're typically the same. On occasion, they're different. But right now, this is saying that the billing client is equal to, and right now it's equal to anyone. So I can type in one client here. So I'm going to pick NOR. So this is going to pick all the projects for NOR. Everything that we have listed for NOR, whether it's active, inactive, or dormant. Now, typically I would say I don't care about the reimbursables. So we could actually add something in here where we say project and then go down to project number and say does not contain. There you go. Yeah. Okay, so now if I look here, it doesn't contain any of the REM projects. It's got one proposed project here. We'll just leave that in there. All right, so that's probably a good place to save the search. So what you can do is you can go to your search actually what we want to do is we want to save this option, save, and give it a name. So this is just for NOR. Right, so now if I go up here and I look at the searches, under my search, I've got to search for NOR. So that this is something that you've created just for yourself. It's not shared with everyone else. There's other searches that are already shared with you if you wanted to select any of those. Okay, so you can see the number of results. There's 60 projects that are going to show up on this. So I hit apply. So that should give us the report that we're looking for NOR projects that have got any activity job to date. So let's run that. Okay, so that gives you the report for NOR. Now, if you wanted to save a copy of this, you could save as a PDF, or you can save it as a Excel file, or whatever you want to do. So it takes all the additional services, the O1, the O2, the O3s, all that, has them split out separately. If you want to combine that, that'll be done in the roll-up. There's positives and negatives to each type of report. This you can actually go in and see, okay, well, I had an ad service, contract amount was $7,000, and we didn't make money on that. We actually lost money on that, right? So you can see how you're performing on the ad services that you come up with. You can also combine everything so that you can see if, you know, the job as a whole has made money when I combine all the stuff together. The contract compensation. So there are times where there's nothing there. That means that nothing was added into the contract management, which again, I'll show you later. It could have been that the project, this particular ad service was an hourly, and we haven't been adding in a number for hourly. You can add something in for hourly if you have an estimate of what it would be. You can also put something in for cost to a max that would show up. This only affects showing where things are with respect to what you're supposed to get for the project as far as compensation. So there's that report. I'll save this one right now. So it just saves into my downloaded folder, project earnings. Okay. So now I'm going to, before I show the others, I'll save this. So got this report that I created. Now this one, the way it's set up, it's set to use the NOR search. It's got all the other setups that I want. So I can hit save, and I can call this now that project is saved. When I go to my favorites, it shows up here. If you get into this and you make any changes to the options and save it again, it will still save here. If you wanted to use this kind of as a template, you can go over to the three dots, hit save as. What save as is going to do is it's going to open the project back up, allow you to make some changes, and then do a save as. So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to go to my search. I'm going to change it to Arc Ideas. I'm going to apply. I'm going to hit save. Now I can call that Ideas. So now again, if I go back and I look, now I've got both those reports. Okay, so we're going to stick with the NOR report. It has more information in it, and we will go into the options. And let's look at what happens when you change project roll up. So typically our projects start off with 5 numbers. That's the base is 5 numbers, right? So if you roll this up to 5 numbers, I'm going to for this example, I'm going to display the data as a subtotal on the base number. So let's see what that gives us. Okay, so now what that gave us is sorts out the project based on bringing it down to just 5 digits here. So when I bring that, it shows each one of the ad services separately, so you can see those, but it just kind of keeps everything separated out, but then combines it right here so that you see what the total for the project is. So that can tell you in the instance that you're trying to say, well, okay, I've got a base job that maybe we didn't do so great on, but we made it up in the ad services. You can combine all that stuff and see that, and you can see each one of the ad services separated out. So that's using project roll-up options, subtotal on base number, summary on base number. So the summary on base number just takes everything, combines it into the base number, the first 5 digits, and just shows you that. So this is a much more compact report. If you don't really care necessarily about how each one of the ad services worked, you can do that just to see how the project overall, including all of the ad services, how it ended up being. All right, so that's using summary on base number. So now if I wanted to make one of these my main option, so let's say I wanted to, let's say I like this one, I like having the split out, but I wanted to combine things into one area, and I want that to be my base report. I make that change, I hit save it there. All right, so next time I get into this report, it's going to have that saved. I run the report. Okay, that gives us the report we were talking about. So you could create, if you wanted to, a report for any of the clients that you wanted to. You could also change your search to maybe instead of doing client, you only want to do a specific project number. So you could get rid of the project billing client, and you could make it project number equals and put in whatever the project number, or project number contains and put in whatever you want for the project number. So you can make it so that it's anything that you want. You can set up a base report and then change this search every time. Or you can set up different reports for clients, for projects, however it is you want to do it. Again, the key thing to any of these reports is utilizing the search, understanding how that works. There's a few other things in searching that you can do it's more complicated if you hit the advanced settings that plays with ands and ors, and if something's, if you get too complicated on this, you can get kind of squirrely results. I would recommend trying to keep it relatively simple. But if you needed to do something that really kind of hones in on things, you can try to do that. And if you have any issues, you can talk to me and I can try to help you through it. Okay, so that is how to generate the project earnings report. You can change this name up here, and that's just what it's going to print out on your report if you wanted to change it. So for this, if I wanted to change it to, say, North, right, I could then save that. So now when I run this report, it just says project earnings North on the top. The other item that I wanted to talk about that we touched on a little bit here is the contract compensation. So this is something that we said in the past that people should be putting in, I don't think that everybody typically does, but in project, when you're putting in a project, contract management, all right, you go to contract management and put a contract, and if this is going to assume right now that it's either a lump sum job or a cost to a max, you're going to enter a contract in here. You want to put include in fee. If I scroll over here, direct labor is going to be whatever the fee is for the project. That is then going to load up this and populate these areas with whatever you end up with. So on this particular job, if I want to show the contract totals, I have to put in, if I want to put in, I put in each one of these phases that I have, put in the number, and it will add up to what the total direct labor is. And that's going to show up on that compensation column. So that will show you where you are when you're looking at your reports, and show you where you are with respect to what the total fee for the project is. There's no way in the project profitability report to grab the number out of billing terms. It all comes off of the contract management and then what's been billed. So you might normally think, well, why can't it just take this number out of the fees? It just doesn't do that. That's not how the report works. I think that's probably about it. With respect to reporting, again, I'll say that it's really important to understand how to use the record search to get what it is that you want. Once you have some reports that you want, save them. Make sure you know that when you're looking at the options, that there are various reports that have things that talk about activity. So it shows activity in a time frame, and if you just have current or just have year to date, it's going to leave some information off. So the year to date for project profitability is also something that's worth talking about. So if I run this report, this probably is not going to show much. I don't know how much work we've done with NOR. Actually, probably none, since this is early in the year. Oh no, these are all job to date. And there's been some activity in some of the stuff. So, oh, that's because we've got invoices and receipts and whatnot. Let's see if anything shows up here. A little bit, so there's some that still has some items that have been worked on this year. I didn't think that this one had been it, but it could have some labor and expense year to date. You can change here. Well, this report here is based on cost, so it's just going to show you what it is on cost. I think that's about it. Play around with these things. Again, if you get into a report and nothing shows up, check to see if there's anything you need to change on the activity. All right, that's it.